I want to tell you something I have not told most people in my life, not because I am embarrassed by it, but because the moment I say it out loud, I have to relive it. And every single time I do, I end up checking my locks before I go to sleep that night. Every single time. I work nights, have for years. There is something about the stillness of a city after midnight that I've always found honest. The noise drops away, the performance of the day is over. You see things as they actually are. People moving through the dark without an audience. That is when the truth of a person shows. I used to think that was beautiful. I do not anymore. Before I continue, where are you watching from, and are you watching alone? Subscribe and stay. The first time it happened, I was driving home from a double shift. It was deep into winter and the kind of cold that makes your face hurt just walking from a building to your car. I had about 60 miles of highway ahead of me, and my gas light had been on for longer than I was comfortable admitting. I pulled off at the first station I saw. It was one of those old Independents, not a chain. A flat-roofed cinder block building with hand-painted prices on the sign out front, and a single overhead fluorescent that buzzed and flickered like it was on its last hours. There were no other cars, no other people visible anywhere. The pumps were the old kind, the ones with the spinning mechanical numbers, not digital screens. I got out, started pumping, and immediately noticed the cold was worse out here than in the city. No buildings to break the wind. It cut straight through my jacket, and I remember thinking I needed to get back in the car, that I was being dramatic about how cold I was. And then I saw him. There was a man standing at the edge of the lot, not near a car, not near the building, just standing at the far corner where the pavement ended and the dark started. He was facing me. Now people stand outside gas stations. People smoke. People take phone calls. I know that. I told myself that. I finished pumping, got my receipt, and walked toward the building to grab something to drink because I still had an hour of driving ahead of me. The door was one of those heavy glass ones with the metal push bar and a little bell above it. Inside was a single long counter, a rotating hot dog rack that was empty, some refrigerator cases along the back wall. An older man behind the counter, maybe 60, reading something. He looked up when I walked in, nodded once, and went back to reading. I grabbed a drink and a pack of gum, walked up to pay. That is when he said, without looking up, "You drive here alone?" I said yes. He said, "How long were you out there at the pump?" I told him maybe 4 or 5 minutes. He set down what he was reading. He looked at me directly and said, "That man has been standing out there since before I opened tonight. He has not moved once. He has not gone to his car. He has not come inside. He has just been watching." I felt the cold again, even though I was inside. I asked if he had called anyone. He said he called the non-emergency line twice, and they told him there was nothing they could do about a man standing on a public lot. Like he said, he had been trying to decide all night whether to lock his doors and wait, or just close early and leave. I looked back through the glass front of the building. I could see my car at the pump. I could see the edge of the lot. The man was still there, still facing the building. The cashier said to me quietly, without any drama in his voice, I would not go back out there alone. I stood in that building for 40 minutes. Neither of us said much. I kept watching through the glass. The man at the edge of the lot never sat down, never pulled out a phone, never looked anywhere except directly at the building. Then a semi pulled in off the highway, big rig, full lights. The driver came inside, got coffee, was loud and cheerful and completely normal. I told him what was going on. He walked outside with me to my car. I got in, and he locked the doors immediately and pulled out of the lot. When we passed the edge of the lot in my headlights, I saw the man clearly for the first and only time. He was wearing no jacket. It was 11 degrees outside. He was in a short-sleeved shirt. His arms were at his sides. His face was completely blank. He watched my car pull out of the lot without moving a single muscle. I drove the whole hour home without the radio on. I looked up that gas station 2 weeks later to see if I could find anything. No reviews, no web page. I tried mapping the address I remembered from the receipt. The lot shows up on the map, but the building is listed as permanently closed. I do not know when it closed. I do not know who the cashier was. I do not know who that man was, what he wanted, or why he was there. I just know that every winter when the cold comes back, I think about him standing there in no jacket at 11 degrees, perfectly still, watching. And I wonder who else pulled in that night after I left, who else pumped their gas alone in the dark. Whether the next person to walk out got a truck driver to walk them to their car, or whether they just walked out by themselves. The second story is the one my sister still refuses to talk about. She was 19. She was driving home from her boyfriend's place, a drive she had made probably 100 times before. She knew the route cold. Same 2-lane highway, same small towns, same handful of gas stations spaced out across about 90 miles of nothing. She stopped at one she had stopped at before. Not a regular, but familiar enough, and she said it looked normal when she pulled in. 2 other cars at the pumps. A woman in scrubs on her phone leaning against one of them. Lights on inside the building. Regular evening, probably around 9:30. She pumped her gas. The woman in scrubs finished her call, got in her car, and left. The second car was still there. She assumed someone was inside the building. She hung up the pump and walked in to use the restroom. The restroom was at the back of the building, down a short hallway past the walk-in cooler. She went in and immediately noticed the lock on the inside of the door was broken. Not worn or old, broken. The metal of the latch was bent outward like it had been forced. She used the restroom quickly, told herself the lock was probably just old, and walked back out into the main store. The man from the second car was standing at the counter. He was talking to the young woman working the register. My sister walked up behind him to pay for her gas. She said he was talking to the cashier in a way she could not fully hear, low and close, and the cashier's face was not right. She was smiling, but it was the kind of smile you practice, not feel. Her eyes were doing something different than her mouth. My sister put her card on the counter. The man turned and looked at her. She said his look was not aggressive. It was not hostile. That was almost worse. It was like he was assessing something, measuring. He paid for whatever he had and left. The cashier processed my sister's transaction quickly, and my sister, about to leave, stopped. She is not sure why she stopped. She said it was not a thought. It was something physical, something that made her feet slow down. She turned around and asked the cashier if she was okay. The cashier's practiced smile dropped. She leaned forward over the counter and said very quietly, "Do not go out there yet. Please." My sister stayed. The cashier said the man had come in about 20 minutes earlier and asked to use the phone because his car had broken down. She let him. He made a call, or seemed to. He had been in and out of the store 3 times since then. Each time he went out, he walked to the side of the building, not to his car, to the side where the camera had a blind spot. She knew about the blind spot because She had mentioned it to her manager twice. She said the third time he came back inside, he stood close to her and told her she should not be working alone this late. She said she had been trying to call her manager for 15 minutes and no one was answering. My sister is not someone who panics. She is practical, level-headed, the kind of person who handles things. She called the non-emergency line because neither of them felt it had crossed the threshold of emergency. They were told an officer would do a pass-by when one was available. Then the man knocked on the glass door from outside. He just stood there and knocked. Not hard, slow, even knocks. Looking in at both of them. They turned off the main lights inside. The cashier locked the front door from a switch behind the counter. They stood behind the register together in the dim security lighting and watched him through the glass. He knocked for a while, then he stopped. Then he walked to his car, sat in it, and did not leave. Orgy, he sat in that car for an hour and 20 minutes. Neither of them moved. Neither of them talked much. My sister said the silence between them was the kind you only have with someone when you are both scared and both trying not to show how scared you are. When the patrol car finally came through the lot, the man started his car and pulled out before the officer had even parked. The officer came in, took a report, said there was nothing he could do because the man had not technically done anything. My sister followed the patrol car to the next town. The cashier, 18 years old, was alone for the rest of her shift. My sister called me when she got home. She was not crying. She was very calm, the way people get when something happens that they cannot fully process yet. She said the restroom lock was broken from the inside. Somebody broke it from the inside. She did not say anything else. She did not have to. I have thought for a long time about whether to share this last one, not because of what it says about the person it happened to, but because of what it says about how easy it is. How easy it is for something to almost happen and for you to never know how close it was. How many times you have driven home from somewhere in the dark and stopped for gas and thought nothing of it because nothing happened. How many of those times something was there and you just did not see it? This one happened to me, not to someone I know. To me, 3 years ago, I was on a road trip. Long drive, middle of nowhere, and I was tired in the way that makes you a little stupid. Not falling asleep, just operating on slightly less than full awareness. I stopped at a large chain station, the kind with 20 pumps and a big, bright convenience store. Full parking lot. Busy. I felt completely comfortable. I pumped my gas, I went inside and bought food and a coffee. I was in that store for maybe 10 minutes. I came out, got back in my car, and started driving. About 40 minutes later, I stopped at a rest area to eat the food I had bought. I got out and walked to a picnic table. I was eating, and I looked back at my car, and I noticed something. My rear passenger door was not fully closed. I am someone who checks my doors. I do it before I get in every time. It is a habit I have had since I was a teenager. I checked before I got in at that gas station. I am certain of that. I walked back to my car. I opened the rear door fully. I looked in. Nothing. No one there. Nothing taken. Nothing moved. Nothing disturbed. Just an empty back seat and a slightly open door. I stood there in the fluorescent light of that rest area parking lot, trying to think clearly, trying to remember. Did I check the rear door specifically? I checked the front doors. I always check the front doors. Did I check the rear? I replay it, and I cannot say with certainty whether I checked the rear door. I got back on the highway. I drove the remaining 3 hours home without stopping. Here is the thing I've never stopped thinking about. When I got home and brought my bags in, I went back out to get the last bag from the back seat. I opened the rear door. The bag was where I put it. But sitting on the seat next to the bag, on the floor, half underneath the seat, was a gas station receipt. Not mine. I had paid at the pump with a card. I have no receipt from that stop. There is no reason for any receipt to be in my back seat. I picked it up. It was from the same station I had stopped at. Time-stamped about 12 minutes before I had arrived. Someone had been in my car. Not during the 40 minutes I was driving, before, while I was inside buying food. Someone had gotten into the back seat of my car while it was parked at a busy, well-lit station with 20 pumps and a full lot of people, and they had been in there, and then they had left. And I had gotten in and driven away and had no idea. I've thought about every version of what that could mean. The most innocent version is someone got in the wrong car by accident, opened the door, realized, got out, dropped a receipt. Fine. That is the version I told myself for a while. But here is what I keep coming back to. If you open the wrong car by mistake, you close the door. You close it. You do not leave it ajar. You do not leave it slightly open. You close it because you are embarrassed, and you close it and you walk away. That door was not closed. Whoever was in my back seat left before I came out. Left the door slightly open, left a receipt. Got out and walked into a full parking lot where I would never know who they were. I drove 40 minutes with whoever they were gone, but me not knowing that yet, me just driving, eating my food, completely unaware that something had already happened. When I got home that night, I sat in my kitchen for a long time. I looked at that receipt. I still have it. I keep it because throwing it away feels like pretending it did not happen. I do not know what they wanted. I do not know what they were planning. I do not know if they changed their mind, or got spooked, or simply decided on someone else. But here is the thing that does not leave me. At some point in those 40 minutes between the gas station and the rest stop, I adjusted my mirror. I looked up and adjusted it slightly because of headlights behind me. And when you adjust your rear view mirror, you see your back seat. You see it clearly. You are looking directly into it. I looked into my back seat. I thought it was empty. If it was not empty at that point, if someone was still there, low, between the seats, in the dark, they were close enough that I could have reached back and touched them. And I just kept driving. Eating my food, listening to the radio, completely alone and completely not alone at the same time. And if that is what happened, they did not make a sound. They did not breathe loud. They waited. They waited while I ate and drove and adjusted my mirror and looked back and saw nothing. That is what I think about. Not the dramatic version, not the version with confrontation and noise and resolution, the quiet version, the version where nothing happened because nothing had to happen yet, the version where someone was patient enough to wait and quiet enough to disappear, and the only thing they left behind was a receipt and a door that did not close all the way. The version where I will never know. That is the thing about stops in the dark. Most of them are nothing. Most of them are just gas and bad coffee and a long road home. But you never know which one. You never know which one until you do. And sometimes you never know at all.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more stories.